Okay, I've started recording. So this is the recording of the meeting, webinar, masterclass style on where did we all come from. So for those of you who don't really resonate with where you originally came from, I'll start off with the star Sirius. Sirius is known as, I've got my notes here so I don't get caught up and forget, because you know, I all know I go off track. Sirius is known as the dog star. Now, Sirius is a cluster of stars, and there's A, B, and C, and it kind of is in like a triangle. And Sirius is the star that cannot be seen by the naked eye, or not. It's so far away, right? It's not able to be seen easily by a telescope. Now, I was watching something on Gaia the other day, and it just blew my mind, because it's like, oh my God, it's something I'd seen. It's a triangle, like the pyramid, with an eye, single eye in the middle. And so this leads into what I know as true. Most of us came from Sirius. Not all of us, but most of us did. How do we know whether we came from Sirius? Because we know that deep within ourselves, there's a yearning to go home. We all want to feel we want to go home. Some of us don't know where home is, but home is Sirius when we feel like that. The Sirians came here to actually give us things like, those that were on Earth, on planet Earth first, weren't very evolved, okay? So they didn't know how to build houses. They didn't know how to farm. They didn't know how to look after themselves without, warfare. So if you look at what's going on now, you can understand why we're going back to these things and saying, where did I come from and why are things happening to me the way I am? So the Sirians came to bring about our knowledge in astronomy, make us want to know more about the star system, the planets, and how they work with our lives in general. They brought with them knowledge of maths and agriculture. Now, I'm not going to go into the full thing of how this all developed and we all became humanoid, but it's a really long and complex thing. So how do you know if you're from Sirius? You know because you want to go home. You have a very strong attraction to the stars. This is terrible. Every time I go to speak my truth, the last 2 days this has been happening to me. So we have a very strong connection to the stars. We're very connected to the sun and the moon. Now, Sirius was known as the sun behind the sun. So Sirius is known as the mother of the sun, our sun that we see, okay? Anyone that came from Sirius was depicted as half person and half serpent. So half human, half serpent. And if you look at a lot of Egyptian hieroglyphs, you'll see this weaves its way through. So Sirius and Egypt are very connected. The people that came to Egypt to build the pyramids did it mathematically. So we don't look different, or we don't sort of have things that we can say all people from Sirius look like that, excepting to say that they all had piercing eyes. Their eyes are very piercing. It's something that's known very strongly about them. The Pleidians is another star cluster. And the Pleidians, and I see them often, they talk to me a lot at the moment. The Pleidians are very tall. They have long blonde or light coloured hair, not necessarily white, but light blonde hair. They're very tall. And they usually show themselves as in white, long white robes. So when I say very tall, they're up to like 7 foot. If you were a Pleiadian, you can channel, and you channel the Pleiadians often. And they are light workers. So you are a light worker, and you have known all your life that there was something more you were called to do, that you wanted to save the planet, you wanted to save the earth, you wanted to save animals, you wanted to save everything. Now we talk about Atlantis and Lemuria. Atlantis, as I know it, was in the Atlantic Ocean. And it was, I have seen it as very big, tall structures, very similar to the structures that we have in Greece that are very ancient. They're very tall, they're solid structures, lots of plants and vines. So it's a plant-based society. They have huge statues, very similar to Greek history. These people that lived in Atlantis were very different to those in Lemuria. The people from Atlantis were part fish, part human. So if you're connected, the thing that actually makes Lemuria and Atlantis the same in a way is they're both connected to dolphins. Both connected to dolphins. Atlantis used dolphins differently. Dolphins in Lemuria were more about a higher being, and they actually spoke to Lemurians with their click-click tongue. So Atlantis was much like Earth as we know it now, but it was back then and different. It was under the water. Atlanteans, or I don't know whether that's how you say their name, actually came to destroy Lemuria. Lemuria was higher beings, and very much those that came from Sirius quite often went to Lemuria. Lemuria was a system of connectivity, very much feminine and masculine melding. So people were actually able to understand the masculine and feminine within themselves. There wasn't the, distinct masculine and the distinct feminine. It was almost like they were able to flip between one and the other when they needed to without changing how they looked. They were a society that was highly evolved. They were very spiritual. They, as I said, they spoke telepathically, but they also sang. So the music that you hear from the dolphins, or the voices, the noise, is very much how they spoke. They had crystalline temples, and those temples, well, they were made of crystals, but those temples were within cave systems and also without cave systems. So they were inside and outside of cave systems, and it depended whether they were people who were workers or they were the hierarchy of the teachers. They grew crystals, and they never had a problem with having enough to eat. So if you're from Atlantis, you know that you're connected to dolphins. You'll quite often feel connection to Greece or ancient mythology. And I can't speak how they speak. I have seen Atlantis, but I didn't come from there. Whereas Lemuria, which is also known as Mu, is you'll be very much connected to anything that is like Hawaiian. The culture of Hawaii, or even the culture of New Zealand. I remember as a child being very connected to anything that was New Zealand, the Maoris. I had no idea why, and it was my memory of Lemuria. The things that they do, the way they treat people, the way they connect with one another, the spirituality of it all. So Lemuria, you'll find that most people have been part of Lemuria. Most people that are light workers at the moment will have been Lemurian. Some people don't remember it, but if you think about, if you are very much into using the Ho'oponopono, that's Hawaiian, obviously, and that is something that will resonate very strongly with you. It's the way they lived their life. That's exactly how they lived their life. Everything was forgiveness. Everything was about love for everybody else, not just themselves. Everybody was equal. Didn't matter whether they were a teacher or a student, they were all equal. And children were revered because they knew that the children were the next generation. What did they look like? Lemurians were, they were tall, as in like 5'11" upwards. They had very beautiful faces, and quite often they would wear something across the top here, and the priestesses would wear it very much like the Egyptian, I don't know what you call them, the things up the top of the head, the Maria, help me. What's the things the women wear on the top of their heads? The Egyptian queens.
Not sure of the actual name, but there's different headgears depending on their hierarchy of and who they were and whether they were from Upper Egypt or Lower Egypt. It's a headdress.
Yeah, thank you, headdress, Nefertiti. So they had similar to those, and it was like a band with crystals, and the colour of the crystals denoted where they were in that hierarchy, although they didn't see it as hierarchy. They respected one another, and the dolphins were part and parcel of their world. It was just, it's the way it was. The dolphins were like the highest of high. So if you have any feelings of, if you feel like, you know, you're connected to things that were like fish or anything in the sea, if you're connected to water around the sea, you may have been from Atlantis or Lemuria. But being from Lemuria, you are definitely connected to the ocean, where it's right beside the sea, you know, and you can see or hear whales and dolphins. You're drawn to crystals, and you like to sing. Whether you can sing well or not, you like to sing. So it's a recognition of when we talk about a place, when we talk about Atlantis, something stirs within you. It's a recognition from a past life that you know you were from there. With me, Lemuria, I woke up one day, I didn't even know what Lemuria was, right, in this life. I woke up one day and I just said, I'm Lemurian. And I went, where did that come from? It was given to me during the night. And so I looked at, where was Lemuria? I knew I'd heard Atlantis, but I'd forgotten about Lemuria because it wasn't on my radar of what I needed to be doing at this time. It's more important now with what I'm doing now. It's much more important that I remember where Lemuria was, what it was, and what it meant to me. So, as I said, dolphins spoke to humans back then. So, well, Lemurians. We were human, but we're not human like we are now. So if you know that you hear the word or you hear things related to those places and they stir something within you, then you know your connection is to one or more of those places. And can we say we've been in each and every one of them? Most definitely. Most definitely. For me, I know Sirius is where I started, and I know that's my home, but I'm still very drawn to Lemuria. I'm extremely drawn to Lemuria. And I feel very emotional when I think about it, and I envision where it was and what it looked like. So you can you can have been, well, not necessarily been from Sirius and be a Pleiadian as well, but you can have come from one star system to another. And you can have gone from Sirius to Lemuria, or Pleiadian to Lemuria, or to Atlantis. So we all started off in a star. And I want to say that this body that we are in now, we never have the same body again. We may have similar features, but we never have the same body ever again. So whatever life we came from, there are similarities in the things that we have within us, because it's imprinted on our soul. But the body, the physical thing, the vessel that we come here, has got nothing to do with one life to another. It's our memories that shape those things. So does anyone want to say anything about what they believe about where they're from, their experiences? No? Robin, do you want to unmute yourself at the moment, please?
Yeah. Well, I still don't know, because I've got a connection to all of it, really. Like, when I was younger, like I liked the New Zealanders, like, and the New Guineans, the Papua New Guineans. I liked their carvings and everything like that. Yeah, so I'm still, but in saying that, the other night I woke myself up talking in a language I've never even heard of. So and I've kind of gone, okay, where did that come from?
Do you know what it sounded like? I mean,
No.
can you relate it to anything, or does it sound just weird?
It sounds weird. Like, I can't relate it to anything. I've not heard it before. Yeah, it was just really like a guttural, like it was a deep guttural. Yeah, so.
I won't put you on the spot and ask you to do it now.
No. Oh, yeah, just really, yeah.
Okay, so usually light language is a lot higher and lighter. To me, a guttural language could be a guide speaking through you, or it could be a recognition of a past life, or it could be you're starting to do light language, but it's coming out differently. It's like your voice is breaking, if you know what I mean. Could
okay,
be like
yeah, yeah.
So probably when we talk next,
yeah.
if you can do it again, we'll see what it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do any sort of animals, like as a child, do any animals, have you been drawn to animals, not horses, not cats and dogs, but have you been drawn to anything else that's been really important to you and you've not known why you've been drawn to them?
The cheetahs, the African cheetahs. They, yeah.
All right, so
that's
you might have come from Sumaria. I didn't go into Sumaria. Sumerian, it's really long. Sumerian and Akkadian. They are the ones that actually started. They're the ones that built the pyramids, right? They're the ones that built the pyramids.
Yeah.
So, and that they were actually in an area that was like Arabian area, an Arab area. So that might be, and that might be what was coming out of your mouth.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I've only got 40 minutes, I can't.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't go into it too deeply today.
Yeah.
It's 22 minutes now. But yeah, so
what was the other one? Sumerian. So just so I can Google it later.
Sumarian.
Yep.
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 I think that's how it's spelled. I don't know. Sumerian. or Arcadian. Akkadian. Arcadian.
Yep. Okay then.
So yeah, and they were very short people. They weren't very big people at all, and they were like 5'4", 5", something like that. But they were quite striking with their beautiful coloured skin and their hair, their dark hair. So yes, they were very clever. They were very, very clever. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right. Lynn. Lynn. She's probably. Oh, where is she? She's got a camera off. Are you there, Lynn? I'll mute her because she's doing something, obviously. Where is it? Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Sorry. So, did any of that resonate with you, like where you think you're from?
Water, dolphins, definitely the sea. Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
do you feel more towards Lemuria than Atlantis?
I don't really know. I'm short. I don't know whether that.
That doesn't matter this time.
Oh, okay.
No, but that's what they were then, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter in this body.
Yeah.
But it's like if you love dolphins, and all Lemurians were healers. Now I have to say that because if we were Lemurian and we were a healer, in this life, quite often we will need loads of self-healing and we will suffer depression. Okay? I was just given that. So, and I remembered that. I hadn't written that down. I remembered that from myself anyway. That was my awakening to the fact that I was Lemurian.
Well, where do I fit in then? Sorry, Lynn.
No, you're right.
Well, you could be Sumerian and also Lemurian because they're very different eras. So, you know, you can have a life in Sumaria and then have a life in Lemuria. Okay? We don't only just have one past life, Robin. We have several. And as light workers, we have multiple. So, yeah, Lemurians are very telepathic. So if you know stuff, then like something's going to happen, you don't know why, or you're thinking about something and it suddenly happens. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe have a little bit of a play with Google on that, because I think it's important to know where we came from one of these things. All right, so Maria, did you want to say anything about that?
Well, yeah, deep yearning of, I wanted to go home when I was a young child and a teenager, but I always thought that I wanted to go home to Italy, you know, but I remember sitting outside in summer, obviously, on the fence, front fence, looking up and saying, I want to come home.
Yeah.
You know? Definitely with the connection to the sea. I mean, I've always said that I could quite happily live 50% of my life on land and 50% of my life in the water. Something I miss very, very much since being here, not being able to go to the beach.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. But at least I've got a visual of water here from my apartment.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, the connection to Egypt and Greece, always. I cannot remember a time that I did not think about Greece and I did not think about Egypt. I didn't even know why, because obviously as a child I hadn't been here or to Egypt. But yeah, Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, it's nearly
So it's
finished.
always been there.
It's nearly
It's
finished.
always been
Yeah.
there. Okay.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking. Alice has just joined, and it's nearly finished. Alice, it started at 4:30, my love, and it's now nearly finished. But anyway, you can see the recording. Yeah. So the connection that we have to all these different places, it's a stirring, it's a knowing, it's a yearning. And with what's going on now, it's vitally important that we understand what we're meant to be doing here and how we use all those things that we've been through before to take us to the next phase. And I'm going to say it right here and right now. We are not going to the new world until 2032. 2032. There is so much healing that has to be done before that, and it's a lot of work that's going to need to be done. And as I've said before, 2020 is the phase of us working out what we need to do for ourselves. 2021 is putting things in place. This lockdown per se is not going to end until the end of this year at least. That's what I've been shown. So the fact that we need to be near water is very therapeutic and very healing. Now, I haven't got water where I am here, and it makes me cry every day inside, not physically, but inside. I just want to be near the water. Yeah. Luckily, we don't have our yacht anymore because it would make me want to yearn to go onto the yacht again. So I am craving being near water. So I have to just sit with my thoughts and say, this is okay. I can remember Lemuria. What we need to think about in this time of shutdown is think about what we're going to say in 5 years' time that we did during this time. Are we going to say we just sat around and fiddled and, you know, waited like Nero, waited for Rome to burn? Oh, God, I love it. I just got a gift. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just about at the end, right? I've got 10 minutes to go before the 40 minutes is over. And I've got a little blip on my screen that said, running out of time, we've removed the 40 minutes on your Zoom meeting, group meeting. Thank you.
And I had a little blip come up saying the host has got unlimited time.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yep.
Oh, look, I'm just so rapt. Yeah, so for us, it's important that we realise that we don't want to be 5 years down the track and say, as light workers, we sat here and fiddled and twiddled our thumbs, we didn't do anything. If somebody asks you, how did you spend lockdown? You need to be able to say something proactive. And I know what I'm saying. I worked on me. I listened to my higher self. I helped other people. And I worked on saving the planet. So that's my thing. That's today what I've come up with, but it'll evolve. And I think, you know, it's also important to look at self-development. We've got to change who we are and how we're showing up. We've got to change that. We've got to be our true, authentic selves. And that is living through our higher self, not living through our physical being. It's listening to our higher consciousness because it knows what's right. Okay, so anyone want to say anything else? Alice, did you want to come in and have a chit chat? Oh, yeah. Alice, do you want to come in? I'll unmute you.
Oh, is that me?
That's you, darling. No. And I'll see if I can turn your video on. I can't, but you, there, I've asked you to turn your video on. Can you do that?
So how do I do that? Sorry, I'm only new to this.
It should come up with something down the bottom that says your host has asked you to turn your video on. So just click on it.
I saw that. So start my video.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Please and set permission. Got it.
I can't see you.
Allow.
There you go. Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Okay, so you're going to have to look back at the video when I put it up in the group to see whereabouts you came from. But can you just tell us where you think you may have come from?
Oh, you mean like
Lemuria, Atlantis, Sirius?
I'm not sure, but lots of doctors have told me I'm not human. So
There comes, and guess what? There comes another one. There comes another one. And I was waiting.
because I beat all odds, and where I should have died, I haven't died many times, and where I should be able to take certain things, I can't, and where healings happen that shouldn't happen, and yeah, I just get told many times by doctors that I'm not from here.
Do you? I was waiting for someone to come on who was extraterrestrial. I can't say. Like from another planet, as we know it. Like for instance, a Martian type person. That's, and you know what? It's those deep eyes that you've got.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So there've been lots and lots of people that have come from other planets that have come here to bring their knowledge and to actually help us to heal ourselves, but it hasn't happened because nobody's been listening. Nobody that needs to listen has been listening. And for you to do this on your own, Alice, has been very hard. You've gone through so much in your life trying to make a difference to other people. You've done amazing stuff. You've done amazing stuff. You really, and what you're saying, I've seen. You should not have survived a lot of things you've survived. But that has been your wake-up call to you to know that it's validation that you are not human as we know it. You are far more than that. You've come here to make people better. You've come here to impart more wisdom to people, and it will happen with the collective of the consciousness of every light worker out there. There will be others like you that you will come in contact with.
Yeah, I've been running into them.
Yeah, there'll be others that will come in contact with you. It's like from all corners of the earth now, light workers are uniting, people from other planets are uniting, people that have known they've got a bigger purpose but didn't know what it was and didn't think they could do it on their own are starting to join forces. So do you have a memory of where you came from or not?
Oh, I know I've had many past lives, but I also feel that I've also come from the stars, like not from here.
Do you know where I think you came from? Pleidies.
No.
Pleidies. Palladian.
Yes, so many people tell me that. Yeah.
So that one is a star cluster, as I said before, and they were great at channeling. I channel the Pleidies quite often. They're light workers as well. They're very tall, or they were, and they have very pale features. Now, some of the things that we brought with us from back then can be similar, but not all of them. But we all have a trait that we know, we recognise was from where we came from. So there you go. Welcome.
Yeah, I have an affinity with animals as well. Animals they can't wait to meet me. Doesn't matter what it is, it's a horse, a cow, a pig, dog, chicken, whatever. They're just.
Do you feel like
seem to be all surrounded by animals? Fish, I hate going fishing with people because I don't like hurting animals. And if I stand with somebody who's a fisherman, the fish just jump out of the water. I know it sounds strange, but they just jump out of the water.
So you could have also been from Atlantis.
I actually have had a vision of Atlantis as well. I have a strong belief they actually do come from Atlantis as well.
Yeah, because of the fish. Because Atlantis had, like I said to the girls before, Atlantis was very much along the lines of what Earth is now, like animals and all that sort of thing. And the fish, Atlanteans were half fish and half human. But they weren't quite the same as what Lemuria was. But that seems to be that you came from Atlantis as well. But we don't just come from one place, and you know.
I know that we don't just come from one place.
Yeah.
But I have had visions where I have been traveling and stuff out of here, like out of this planet.
Astral traveling is very common from people who come from the stars, and remember they come from the stars because they love to go back and visit. Yeah. So if you listen to a lot of my meditations, there's always stars in there. Nearly always stars in there. We travel past the stars. I do that often.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, anybody else got any questions? Because if not, I'll close down and put it up in the group. I'll actually put it up on YouTube and then post it into the group. YouTube will be, it's unlisted, so only those with the link can see it. It's not everybody out there in public land can see it, okay?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
All right, so I'll do that. Okay, so anybody else got anything to say?
Can I make a few reading suggestions to answer a lot of questions?
Yeah.
If, well, Dolores Cannon is one of them. She did a lot of, she took a lot of people to not only past lives, but in between lives.
Yep.
And her books really answer a lot of questions about people who came from the stars and planets and all that, and even beyond galaxies that we don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was Michael Newton, Journey of the Soul and Journey of something else. But he's written quite a few books as well. And YouTube, Brian Scott, he's fantastic. He actually does a lot of meditations and what have you, but he also, what he does is he'll get a chapter like from Dolores Cannon's books and he will read it. So you don't actually have to buy the books if you don't want to, just to get a taste of them. But the 3 Waves of Volunteers is very good because it talks about the 3 different stages of star seeds or whatever you want to call them that came out to prepare the way. So the first lot, the second lot, and the third lot apparently now is the children that have been born in the last few years. They are the 3rd waves of volunteers which are paving the way. But in one of his meditations, he's talking from Dolores' books, he's reading the chapter, I can't remember which chapter, but she's talking about the new world and the new bodies, what we need to do to prepare for this new world, which will be coming in 2032.
Yeah.
But this is the preparation phase. And this was back, she wrote this book back in 2002, I think. I'm not sure exact date, but I think it was in 2002. This
I've got this one.
I can't see. Who's that?
Shakti Gawain.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's back home, Dee. Don't.
Well, the strange thing is, I bought that at an op shop, not last year, the year before, on our travel. And when we were thinking we'd sold the house, I kept putting books out. I hadn't read it, and I thought, oh, no, I'll just put it out. It didn't sell. It kept coming back to me, and I thought, I have to read this. This book was written in 1986, and I blew my brains out this morning with what I was reading. She's talking about exactly what's happening now, preparing for the new world. And I went, ah! So I know I was meant to keep it. It's just, yes, beautiful.
Yeah. So Dolores Cannon has been doing this, well, she's passed now, but She's written many books.
Mm.
You need to just, I mean, I can't remember all of them. The Convoluted Universe is one of them, book 1, 2, 3, and I'm not sure if she ever got the 4th out. The 3 Waves of Volunteers, Secret in the Garden, all that.
Yeah.
This is back in probably late 80s, 90s as well.
I think this is, she talks about the secret garden or something in this one. Like she, hang on. I'm pretty sure. No. Well, where did that come from? It came to me somewhere here. Secret garden, anyway, whatever.
There's quite a few that talk about the secret garden, but Brian Scott is really good. I mean, and Neville Goddard, you know, in regards to, I mean, he uses the scriptures a lot, Neville Goddard, but the way he presents things, it's like to do with manifesting and quantum jumping and that sort of thing, where you actually go to parallel universe and meet yourself.
Yeah.
And change or look at what it is that you need to step into in this reality.
Yeah.
So, and it's just simply amazing. I mean, there's so many on YouTube, and I really like the younger ones that have just so aware and so awake. It's just amazing.
Because they came here awake. They didn't go to sleep. Like we all went to sleep, you know. We went to sleep and remembered some things, not much. And then as we go through our life even more, we forget more or push it away, which is what I did, until one day it's like, it's almost like a smack up the back of the head, just get on with it. So it's now or never. But the young ones now seem to be just awake. Just straight awake.
If I got it right from what, because it was just a quick read, the second wave of volunteers are the ones who are in their 20s and 30s now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then the ones that sort of born after that are the third wave, you know, and the ones that keep on being born last 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and the ones that are being born now as well. So
Yeah.
they will be the third wave.
That's right. And they came to prepare the way for the next ones to come and know what these ones had to come here with to do. Very much like the Sumerians. You know, they came to pave the way for humans in the future to be more wise and creative instead of barbarians that they once were. But you see, we are not of the extraction of the barbarian type. We're more from this Sumerian or the others, the wiser ones.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so
So Dee,
yep.
Sorry, just a question. So all my girls, all my daughters, and are like me. They're identical to me in they all know sort of like semi-much their past lives and stuff. And they've all had weird experiences, and my youngest daughter Chantal has been called many a time an alien as well. So, and like we all carry the same trait.
You're a very blessed family, my love. You made a big choice way back then, a huge choice, to come here and stand out and not fit in, to come here and take on the burdens of a lot of other people, to experience what they were going to experience so you could help them.
Well, my 2 boys are like me as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 3 Musketeers. Completely different to their father.
Yeah. And you know, quite often this is what happens. The light worker wants to experience the normal world without sort of having to live it totally, but just experience it by being with someone totally different to what we are. And that humanizes or normalizes the life experience. But out of that usually comes the most blessed spiritual beings, children. And but 90% of the time, we don't stay with the father of those children because that we've had that experience and that's all we needed. Now we're moving on.
Oh, that makes a lot of common sense because he was never, my first husband was never like me.
No. And that's what we do. We choose someone who's so unlike us, but they're like all the people out there that are bigoted and, this is how they end up, bigoted and mean and nasty. And yeah, that's what we choose because we want to see the darkness. For us, we have to go through the darkest of dark days to bring the light forth. So we have to face all the shadows within ourselves as well in this physical realm, in this physical body.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of common sense. That new garden thing that and I might be stepping out of line here, but is that the inner world?
The secret garden? Oh, the new world.
Yeah, is that already here, but it's the inner world? It's like
the inner comes out. So what will happen is everything that we know as normality or people know as normality is crumbling. So like the governments are going to not be the way they were, and there'll be a lot more rise of feminine leaders. The masculine way that things are driven now with governments and ruling will actually start to embrace their feminine side. So there'll be more men that come up that have more feminine, showing more feminine side than being masculine totally. It won't be a blokey blokes world anymore. And the inner workings
of great.
Yeah, absolutely. The inner workings of us comes to the point where everybody either has to be connected to each other, be concerned about each other, let go of ego and greed, all that sort of thing. It's all about less is more. It's how we treat our neighbour and how we treat Mother Earth. So Mother Earth changes. Sirius, the sun behind the sun, Sirius is the mother sun, and Sirius actually has a pull on Mother Earth, and when Mother Earth is crying, Sirius cries, and vice versa. So I've got shivers now because Mother Earth is changing. She's revolving differently, and I've known this, she's on a different axis. So there'll be lots of stuff that will change, like we've seen how floods and fires, there'll be lots more of stuff like that where there wasn't before. There'll be lots more food available where there wasn't before. So everything is going to be like turned up on its head, but it's the inner world coming out as we know it. The beauty, the peace, the harmony, the tranquility is all going to come out there. So we won't be ingesting all that hatred and all that war and all those horrible things. It will be us putting the beauty out there to change the outer world. So that was a good question. Thank you.
Well, isn't that sort of happening now with this virus?
The virus.
You hear so many people that used to be egotistic, and suddenly they're like looking at their whole lives differently, and they're actually finding they're actually more compassionate towards people than they've ever been.
Absolutely. The virus was the catalyst, Alice. The virus was the catalyst. This was always going to happen. We, as light workers, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know how it would manifest itself. I always knew that something.
Well, because when I was going through changing from the 3D into the 5D, I could feel it all happening and stuff. And I'm like, well, how's it going to happen to the rest of the world? There must be something that's coming that I can't foresee. And as soon as I heard about the lockdown in China, I went, I know what it is.
Yeah. And
that was it. And I suddenly pinpointed it.
That's the thing. They don't tell you before. They tell you that there is something coming. Your higher self connects with something coming. But if you were told in advance what it was and how it would manifest itself, you'd try and do something about it. We were not meant to save this. We were not meant to stop this happening. This was meant to happen because it had to bring the world to its knees. It had to bring the world to its knees.
I can actually understand that, and I can actually see that as soon as I heard about China and the virus and the lockdown, I went, I know what's happening. I definitely
and it feels
knew
awful.
The answers then.
It feels awful.
But
that we have a smile
sometimes
on
it's
our
got to
face.
take the old.
Yeah,
I know, but sometimes a lot of the old wood's got to go for the new growth to start growing
that's
again.
right. That's exactly right. There always has to be
Mm.
death for rebirth, and there will be lots of that. And I'm not talking about
Yeah.
people dying, but it's the death of all the ways that we used to think the world was normal will not happen again. They'll be refined and revised.
No.
It'll be far more about people respecting other people's space.
Yes.
And I had something and it's gone now because that just blinked at me. So I think that, that's what I was going to say. Everything old will be new again. I say this often. And what I mean by that is that when we were growing up, you know, there were different sets of expectations and people behaved differently. As we've progressed over the last 30, 40 years, I've noticed a change dramatically. And when you look at it and you think people are earning, you know, $250,000 or $1 million a year, it's ridiculous. Footballers should not be paid the high price they're paid. When we remember back, it's like footballers were loving the game of the sport, as were cricketers, and they all had jobs. Now you see people are going to have to go back to
normal jobs.
Yeah. So people are going to have to review what's important to them. And in us coveting stuff, it means that we don't live in the 5D. The more stuff we have, we should be able to get up and walk away and say, I can leave all that behind. I can walk away with nothing and I'm happy. The more stuff we have, the less 5D we are. And if you look at people who are on those big salaries, they have everything, all the toys, all the glitz and the glam. And if a fire came through and took it away, would they be happy? So that's why I say everything old's got to be new again. All right, so has that answered everybody's questions at this point?
I've just got one question. Like listening to the other ladies and yourself talking and that, and over the years, and just thinking, you know, I'm good at thinking, the different areas, as you've been explaining it and talking about it, I can relate to them. Like, I'd love nothing more to be near the ocean and walking on the beach, not swimming in the ocean. I don't want to swim, but walk the beach. But then again, I love being up on the hills, up in, you know, up at Ivan's Block, where it to me, it's so calming and peaceful, you know, like it's like, oh, I'm home. So like there's two different aspects of it, you know, like, so does that mean like I've come through my times, I've been to these other places as well then?
More than likely, yes. So what happens is, for me, I can be very content sitting looking at the cows and the paddocks and the hills and the mountains and the trees, right? But when someone tells me I can't go to the water if I so decide today's a water day, that makes me cry.
Yeah.
So I love both things, and I've been in lots of different places. I've lived in lots of different places, but I'm talking about past lives. But for me, it's more about needing what you need to remember that life, or that part of that life is important to you today, that nurtures something that you need inside yourself today.
Okay.
Right. So you might, and like you, I don't actually like wanting to swim in the sea. I'm afraid of swimming in the sea, and the memory for me is drowning.
Okay.
So in Lemuria, people drowned, obviously, because it's just what happened. And I've had another past life where I drowned. I fell out of a tree and I drowned. I fell into the reeds in the water and got trapped. So I'm always fearful of walking over water, or I'm okay on a boat as long as there's something solid underneath me. But if I can see the water underneath when I'm walking on a bridge, I can't do it. I panic. So I think that's where my vertigo comes in now. But anyway, so yeah, that's probably the fact that your soul needs nurturing from that experience. at the time it does. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thanks, girls. Nice to meet you, Alice.
It's
Oh,
lovely,
yes.
lovely
Nice to meet
see
you,
you.
girls,
Yeah,
ladies.
lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop recording and